Here we are. Dan, thanks for taking the time to talk some Jersey wrestling with me.
Absolutely, Mike.
So today we're going to review the 3 D1 schools in Jersey and the best Jersey guys who are wrestling out of state.
Excellent.
I know you're a Jersey player and a WrestleStat guy, so you got a ton of information. I've done a little bit of research myself. Do you care what order we go in?
No, I got it alphabetically as far as Princeton, Rider, Rutgers. So
okay.
If that works for you, that works for me.
Let's do it. So 125 at Princeton, I'm assuming Pat Glory is going to be back.
You got to assume Pat Glory took 6th last year as a freshman in the NCAA. So absolutely, he's a great starting point for Princeton. Probably going to come in the rankings top 5. I know I don't think there was anyone that finished above him that graduated, but so he's a top 5 guy. You should be looking at a high podium spot for Princeton.
Absolutely. Now, talking to him and Coach Ayers, he had a really good dual season. Maybe didn't have the NCAA tournament they wanted. Ayers was maybe say, I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth. Talk maybe a little bit of overtraining going into the event. But Glory is one of those guys who I think he can make some leaps this year also, and maybe jump a couple of those guys that are ranked ahead of him right now.
I would not be surprised one bit if that happened. He's at the caliber. Maybe not a Spencer Lee. 2-time national champion. Take some losses, Spencer Lee. I mean, obviously Sebastian Rivera, Jersey guy, being twice last year, but I don't. But certainly Glory is at the level of the Sebastian Rivera and some of the others. But so he could certainly. I could see him finishing anywhere. Probably 2 to 5.
Yep, and he's driven. I like watching him. An interesting match last year was the pitch match versus Oklahoma State. I thought it was a typical freshman approach. As a true freshman, he didn't do the Ivy gray shirt where it was a scoreless first period, but he looked dominant. But then he got ridden and showing that as a freshman, bottom is probably the biggest transition against a solid guy at a D1 level.
Yeah, you hear that a lot. It's those guys got to get out from bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you want to move on to Ryder there, actually, they got a guy coming down, is Anthony Savallo. He's dropping down from 133. He was a qualifier last year, NCAA qualifier at 133, but I was told he is going to come down. He's, the weight's not going to be easy for him, but he is attempting to come down and is looking to go out in a bang. It'll be his senior year here for Ryder. So that could be very good. As long as he can hold that weight, I think he'll do very well. As you're aware, the Ryder in the MAC now, EWL and the MAC combined, so now you got a 15-team conference. I think Savola's right there with any of those guys, though, in the conference. As I say that, I would say that Old Dominion's Michael McGee is really good. You got Drew Hildebrandt, but people don't know I do actually the conference rankings for Flo, and I got him ranked 3rd right now in the conference. So and Flo has him as a top 20 guy as well. So I think he'll do real well at the weight, as long as the weight's not an issue for him.
Yeah, Cefalo coming down. I know he's going to wrestle off with Trapea, who was there last year.
Absolutely.
Trapea's got some really good shots, low-level attacks. Cefalo, upper body, counters. Right, he threw the Iowa State kid to his back. I think he pinned him. Gomez, right? Austin Gomez.
He did pin Gomez.
I think that being in a tougher conference, like more teams, is going to help him be sharper come conference time. Yeah. Trapea, I think the knock on him is maybe a little bit of a hothead, loses his grip a little bit out there.
Saw that a couple of times last year when he wrestled against the Rutgers guy. It was Malcolm Robinson, and I'm sure it was both of them. Both of them were going at it, but yeah.
Oh, without a doubt.
Or maybe, actually, I'm sorry, it was Nick Aguilar.
Aguilar, right?
Yeah.
Was that the Princeton Open, maybe?
Yeah, I believe it was at the Princeton Open. And they might have even met somewhere else last year, but so it could have been twice.
If you could combine his low-level attacks with Cefalo's upper body, you'd have a really solid wrestler. Cefalo, though, is a senior, looking to go out with a bang. I know last year he started taking extra reps with Nick Bedley on during the season, and I think he's going to win the spot. I think that he's one of those guys that if you don't scout, like Austin Gomez clearly didn't scout him, and got caught off guard. If he's at nationals and someone's not paying attention, you know, he's a guy who could be around a 12 guy real quickly.
Absolutely.
And you know, so it's just someone to keep an eye on. And I like Cefalo. You know, he never feels he's not as aggressive as I would like sometimes, but this, you know, it's really, I guess the point is for him, if he can generate his own offense versus just counters and upper body, that he's going to be a force to reckon with, one in the MAC, but also come March.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see at 125. Maybe he will get a little more aggressive down here. Yeah. He might feel these guys like to where he's got a little bit of advantage that he's wrestled 133 for so long that maybe coming down, maybe he gets a little better feel. But yeah,
and he'll be a big 25-pounder, like you're saying.
He sure will.
All the weight.
Sure will.
All right.
So if you're looking at Rutgers, I'll tell you, we're going to be saying this a lot for the Rutgers lineup is that there's a lot of unknowns here with Rutgers. The wrestle-offs are going to be Saturday. They're going to be closed doors, not open to the public. And there's basically a lot of guys listed at the weights. Rutgers has a lot of true. They brought in a very good true freshman class, not necessarily at 125, but that you might see some of these guys in the lineup. This is one of those years where I actually believe Coach Goodale when he says that he's not sure who's going to be starting yet. So,
right.
And full disclosure, I am a Rutgers fan and a season ticket holder, and there's a lot of unknowns to myself as well. But if we're looking at the wrestle-offs, we're probably looking at the two top guys here would be Nick Aguilar. He's the California state champion. Both of these guys are redshirt freshmen. You have Malcolm Robinson, who's actually going to be dropping down from 133, wrestled last year as a true freshman. In redshirt, not real matches, but in redshirt, wrestled at 133. He's dropping down. It's going to be one of these two guys going to win the spot. I'll be honest, and I have no idea which one because, like I said, Malcolm Robinson last year, all his matches at 133. We'll see how he handles the cut. We know Nick Aguilar, very good kid from California. Had an okay redshirt year last year. Nothing that that stood out, but we'll see what happens here. One of these two guys is going to be the starter, so it's the Big Ten, so it's not going to be easy, that's for sure.
It's going to be trial by fire, and the interesting thing. So I've seen Aguilar wrestle, and he's going to need to make a leap to be competitive in the Big Ten for sure. But Absolutely. There's a persistent rumor that I keep hearing that Rutgers moved Princeton and Ryder back because they think Suriano is going to wrestle in the spring. Have you heard this?
Well, certainly heard the talkings, and I probably should have even brought it up. But yeah, I would not be at all surprised if Nick Suriano is. Obviously, we know he's in Olympic redshirt right now, and if he's going to try to qualify for the Olympics at 125 pounds, if he can get that qualifier, become a qualifier, I should say, for the trials, I could certainly see him wanting to just finish out his career at Rutgers. Come in at 125, and obviously that would be a huge boost to Rutgers. I truly believe it's going to be a long year for Rutgers, and I hope the fans could bear with them. I think they got some good future ahead of them, and obviously we're coming off of 2 national champions, which we've never had 1 national champion. So I hope the Rutgers fans will give Coach Goodale and the staff a little slack this year. But yeah, if Suriano does come back, and I've heard the rumors, and I would not be one bit surprised if he wants to come out and finish his career. I never get the impression that Nick loves being in being in a college atmosphere.
Right.
I don't know how much he loves it there, so he might just want to finish that out. And it'd be great to see him come try to finish it out, and maybe take another shot at Spencer Lee, who he lost to in the finals as a sophomore.
Absolutely, and if he did that, it would be pretty amazing. And the thing that would be interesting is that during that finals, right, he came out with a giant brace. I don't think he was, clearly not 100%. I would love
Absolutely.
To see that match. I would love to see that match. So.
Yep.
But if Suriano's not back, I'm going to take glory as the best 25-pounder wrestling at the 3 schools in Jersey.
I would agree with that. I would say there's a Jersey guy that's not wrestling in the Jersey school. I would throw up Sebastian Rivera to that. Northwestern took 3rd last year, took 6th the year before. Will be back this year for his junior year. He's going to be certainly one of the best Jersey guys not wrestling for a Jersey school. If I threw a couple others at you, I would say Brandon Paetzel, was at Rutgers, Phillipsburg kid, was at Rutgers, transferred to Lehigh, wrestled at 133 last year, is actually going to drop down. So we've seen a lot of kids drop down here.
Won his wrestle-off last night at the Round White Wrestle-Off.
He won his wrestle-off. And then if you want to keep an eye out on two true freshmen, and I will apologize in advance for if I butcher this name, but it will not be the first one or the last one. Michael Kolioko, who's at Penn, a true freshman. He's not taking a Ivy gray shirt. I think, honestly, I would not be surprised to see him as around the 12 guy this year as a true freshman.
I agree. And I think he's ready to make the leap. He's got all the skills, I think.
He's got the skills. Obviously, Blair kid, national prep national champion. And then you look out for Nick Ramo. Now, with Nick, I don't even know who's going to start at Arizona State, but he's a guy that, you want to keep your eye out on him. I don't know if I'm sold on how he wrestled as a high school kid, if it's going to translate into a Division I high caliber kid or not. Hope he does. Obviously, I love seeing Jersey kids do well outside of the state. I wish they'd stay home, but I still root for them, and we'll see how it translates. Right. I think he needs to maybe certainly get a lot better on his feet for college.
Gotcha. I just go back to Paetzel. He was up. He did make the transfer. He was at 33. I like him. He's aggressive. If he can hold 125, I think he's going to be a big 25-pounder, aggressive. I think I don't know where you would put him right now in the EIWA. I know Glory would be ahead of him.
I will tell you where I have him in the EIWA. I have him second, actually.
Second. So I think he's just someone to keep an eye on because I like his mindset. I like his aggressiveness. Yeah. And if he's big for the weight, it's one of those things where a lot of times when, it's hard to find a guy who could be there for 4 years. And I think, that gives you a mental advantage when you're an upperclassman down at that weight class.
Yep, so, absolutely, yeah. No, he's a good kid, too. He's a real nice kid.
It's a strong weight for New Jersey.
Very good weight. Very good weight. Seems like Jersey does do a good job at the 25s.
And the last thing I'll say about the 25-pounders is, like, whether it's Glory, Suriano, Cephalo, whenever I talk to these guys, the lightweight guys get the most buzz from the fans. I don't know what it is. It's just really
they're fun to watch. Totally. They're always moving. They're fun to watch. Yeah, that's for sure.
All right, let's go to 133.
Great. So if you're looking at Princeton, you're probably gonna. It's probably up in the air. You're looking at maybe Ty Agazi. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but he was a stud New Jersey high school kid, but he's had some problems with injuries in college. And also Princeton will return Jonathan Gomez at the weight. So I think you're going to see one of these two guys. I've been high on Ty Agazi. I thought he would translate good his wrestling style into a college wrestler. But again, his injuries really sidelined him in his career. I actually think he's already a junior, but he's really hasn't seen much of any action at all.
Yeah, I think he's had 2 or 3 surgeries. Chris Ayers talks so highly about him. I've seen him wrestle a few times. Really good. Gets banged up, and then he's out. I think he's better than Gomez. It's a matter of whether he can stay healthy. I know that they've adjusted his training specifically to try and maintain his health. But Princeton's got a bear of a schedule. I wonder if Ayers will flip-flop them to keep some of the wear off.
We'll see that.
It'll be an interesting thing, but I do know that they've last year they scheduled was Iowa, Wisconsin back to back, and then maybe Oklahoma State or something like that.
Yeah, they're doing the same this year. I believe they have back to back. I believe they're wrestling Oklahoma State and Iowa, and that's all on the same weekend. I think one is out there, and then they're flying home for the other one. So it's that's a grueling. And Princeton, to their credit, they always say they wrestle anyone, anywhere, anytime. So
getting the wheelbarrow.
You gotta love that. So they're wrestling. Princeton's wrestling Oklahoma State on December 6th, and then Iowa on December 8th. So that's great.
Good stuff. Good stuff for Jersey. Good stuff for Princeton. I mean, I love what they're doing there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope Gaze stays healthy because you always want everybody to be healthy. From my perspective,
of course.
See the best wrestling possible, and He's one of those kids. If he does stay healthy, I think that he'll do well at the EIWAs, and as a junior this year.
Yeah, he's a new junior actually. Yeah.
Well, we'll see what I hope he's healthy.
Yeah, it'd be nice. I hope it is for him. Yeah.
So,
so if you look at Ryder with Safolo coming down, you're probably looking at maybe Chris Wright. You might be looking at Richie Kohler, maybe coming up from 125. There's can Trapea wrestle at 33? I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't make 125, if he's not the starter, would he try to come up? With Wright and Kohler, they're both redshirt freshmen. Wright was 13-7 last year. Kohler was 10-9 at 125. So, again, maybe if Trapea is the guy that loses at 125, he might be a better option for them at 133. I think they might struggle at 133. That might be one of their weaker weight classes for them.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Wright I think Chris is a redshirt freshman.
Correct.
Ben Leon pulled him out of Central Pennsylvania. I see him kind of as a front runner, but I could be wrong. I don't know what's going to – I haven't talked to them about it, but I saw him wrestle a couple of tough matches at one of the Opens last year. I just liked the way he looked as mentally approaching the match. So that'll be interesting to see how that one shakes out for Ryder, who is got an interesting lineup.
Yeah, a lot of guys. As we'll see later on, a lot of guys moving up and down. So mostly down. So we'll see how that works out for them. For Rutgers, I think you will again. It's probably up in the air. I'm guessing it's going to either be Zach Firestone, or you could see Sammy Alvarez get the start as a true freshman. Alvarez was a guy who was highly recruited. Was going to go to North Carolina State. He did actually go there over the summer. I think he was there a week. Maybe he just didn't like it. Wasn't for him. So he came back home. And he's got a full transfer, and he's able to go right away at Rutgers. And, there was talk about him maybe making 125, but it looks like he's going to be more of a 133-pounder at this point. But he's going to have to be Firestone.
Do we know where his health is right now? I know that he was wrestling well last year, and then I think he was injured.
He did get injured, but apparently he's back in the room. He's from what I've been told, he's 100%, and he should be no restrictions. They are wrestling off tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. Obviously, we won't see the match, but we'll get results from Rutgers.
It'll be interesting. There's been so much change in the wrestle-offs over I've been around wrestling for 47 years or something, and they've gone from public wrestle-offs to private wrestle-offs to winning tournaments and some version of that. And it's interesting because a lot of the high-end programs, they don't settle it until they have the best results at it, like an open tournament.
Yeah.
And there's been talk about that, as the USA team has picked their freestyle lineup through wrestle-offs. I don't know what the best process is, but it's interesting. All the schools are experimenting. It used to be everybody go to the ESU Open, and then that with a wrestle-off. So we'll be curious to see what happens. Are you going to be able to watch that, or is it totally behind closed doors?
Totally behind closed doors.
All right.
Totally behind closed doors. And to your point, I know Coach Goodale 100% has said the wrestle-offs will not determine it. And honestly, I think it's gotten to the point where maybe that is the better way to not determine it from a wrestle-off, because these guys are wrestling each other all the time. They're wrestling close matches, and so it's probably I like the idea of having a wrestle-off, but then going to an open tournament. See, with Rutgers, they start with a quad meet right away, so they don't have the luxury of going to an open tournament before that. Now, that being said, they're not wrestling the Iowas, the Penn States of the world in that tri-meet. Yeah. So but you don't want to just throw out a true freshman, I don't think, right away in one of those matches unless you are sure that he's going to be your guy, because I don't think you want to. So I don't think you'll see Sammy Alvarez go on that first weekend that Rutgers wrestles, unless they're sure that he's that much better than Zach Firestone and he's going to be your guy all year. I don't see why you would burn his red shirt. So you probably, for a guy like Firestone, whether he wins or loses, he probably will be your wrestler that first weekend. And like I said, I could be wrong, but I think Rutgers will probably determine their true lineup as the season goes, and then there'll be an open tournament.
Right.
A couple of them in November that they'll be hitting.
Yeah.
But I think you'll see Firestone, and then a lot of the other weight classes that we talk. I don't think you'll see the freshmen go first weekend.
Right. And then moving on to a couple of guys who are wrestling out of state. Another guy at Penn, Carmen Ferrante. He had a pretty good season at 125 for Penn last year. I think Kalioko coming in at 25 is probably going to bump Ferrante up to 33.
Correct.
I'm not sure how big he is. Maybe he's put some weight on, muscle on.
Right.
I don't know where he finished last year at Easterns.
Well, he did qualify. I'll say that I know he qualified. He went 1 and 2 in the NCAAs.
Okay.
And if you're looking at the EIWAs last year, he was 4th at the EIWAs at 125.
So I mean, he's going to have a bunch of guys to spar with. I mean, Kalioko and Doug Zapf, and then there's another guy down there too. Good bunch of good partners.
Bunch of good guys. Penn's bringing in a lot of great wrestlers.
Yep.
Actually, another guy and we'll talk about him at 141 will be Lucas Ravano, the 2-time New Jersey State champion. He'll be the 141 pounder for Penn. So that's a heck of a group there with Kalioko, Ferrante, and Ravano. So that's and as you mentioned, even Zapf, and there's plenty. They got plenty of good backups in there at Penn. So they got a lot of depth there.
Then another guy from Jersey, Nick Farrow, wrestled at Lehigh. He won last night.
I think he won last night. I don't know if that's determined or not, but he's certainly going to be one of the guys that's in the mix for Lehigh.
Yeah.
And
he was flirting in and out of the lineup last year. Lehigh had tons of injuries.
And they had trouble at 125 last year, Lehigh. That's for sure.
Without a doubt, right? I think they had a true freshman. I think from my neighborhood, Resnick.
Okay.
Step in, and he's the one who Petro beat, I think, 6-2 last night. Maybe the most improved kid. I know he's not a Jersey guy, but he was literally 2 miles away from me. And, he got beat up last year and made some big leaps.
Mm-hmm. That'll happen. That'll help 1 year in the room. That's for sure.
No doubt. Going up to 41. Do you have anybody else out of state for 33, Dan?
I'm sure there's going to be some other kids at some of the other Ivy League schools, but certainly, we'll see what happens. There's some guys that might even be taking some Ivy gray shirts there, so it's up in the air whether you'll see anyone else from Jersey. I wouldn't be surprised you get a couple, but I'm guessing these are the ones that we're going to want to look out for.
Gotcha. All right, 141 at Ryder. This will be.
Well,
go ahead.
Let's go Princeton.
Or Princeton. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So with Princeton, I'm showing is actually a guy that was a starter, was a national qualifier in 2017. Took a gray shirt last year. Is Pat Diarcy. He's a South Jersey guy. He'll be back, and he'll be going 141 this year for them. They do return Marshall Keller. So if Pat Diarcy, if he's not showing, the whole 2017 form, I would not be surprised one bit to see Marshall Keller step in for some matches and let him take a shot. I also think these two guys will be deciding a lot of it maybe at the Princeton Open or some other open tournaments.
Yeah, so, Keller had a pretty good season while Darcy was
Very
out.
Good.
And the thing about Keller was he brought it. I just appreciated his style. I know Coach Ayers and maybe Dubuque were talking about some of the leaps that Darcy was making during his gray shirt. I think he's probably the better wrestler, but I don't know what kind of leaps Keller has made. Keller, I watched him against, I think it was North Carolina. I think so. And maybe Oklahoma State. He just, he didn't care who he was wrestling. He just came out 100%, and I really like that. On the other hand, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I was saying, he's really, again, I think they're going to give Diarcy the opportunity to keep the job, but if you really want my honest opinion, I think Keller's going to take the job. I really do. Last year as a freshman, I don't know if he took a gray shirt year or not before, but 22 and 15 in the EIWA, 1-2 matches at the EIWA tournament. like I said, I know I said that Darcy was a qualifier in 2017, but really since then, in 2018 he went 10-14 against D1 opponents. Last year, in his redshirt year, he probably focused more on freestyle, but he did wrestle, and he went 6-8 in open tournaments last year. So, I do believe they're going to give Darcy the opportunity, but I'm going to say I think Keller's going to be a guy at the end of the year.
Interesting that both of these guys, either one I think again will be a qualifier I think this year, and it's one of those things where Princeton, I think their team is probably a little better at the dual level than punching through to the top, getting a trophy at March. But it's depth for the team, just like at 33. If Agaze gets hurt, Gomez is there. So it's an interesting lineup, and I'll be curious to see it because I wonder if Darcy has the same drive. Keller looked like he had the mental drive.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, Darcy, I don't think he would have taken a gray shirt had he not wanted to get a lot better. So I don't know if he was nicked up. So I'll be at the Princeton Open. Will you be at the Princeton Open?
I will not be at the Princeton Open.
All right. Well, I hope to be there, unless my son's team is playing in the football championships that day. Anyway.
Then I hope you miss it. I hope your son's playing.
I hope so too, but we'll see what happens.
Move on to Rider. I think you're going to be looking at a Rutgers transfer in Robert Cleary. He was at Rutgers his freshman year, and then half of last year, and then he moved over to Rider. I think he's probably going to be getting a start for Rider at 141. Also looking at Travis Layton as well, but I think one of these two guys will really, and I think they'll do well. I think they'll do okay in the MAC at 141 with either of these guys. To be honest with you,
interesting. I guess they're two rival teams, but they do. There's been some exchange of coaches and talent, so I think Cleary. I think Cleary is an interesting option for them, and it'll be interested to see how they settle that with some of the weight changes. I'm not quite sure what's going to happen at 49. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have mentioned too. I do believe that Layton might be going up to 149 as well. So that might even take him out of the mix at 141. So, but he did wrestle 141 last year. Was the starter. Was 18-13, 14-13 against Division I competition. But I am hearing that he might be up to 149 now as well.
And that's going to be a logjam, but we'll get to that one.
Yeah.
All right, so going on to Rutgers.
Yeah, Rutgers, you do have a returning qualifier. This is the first one for Rutgers. It would be at 141. It's Pete LaParry. He's going to be a senior. Went 1-2 last year at the NCAAs. Probably his claim to fame was he actually got a reversal on Yanni Diakono, so that was pretty cool. Pete's very dangerous from the bottom, which I don't know if that's always a good thing to be known as, but he is very good from the bottom.
That's funny. Funny.
But so he would probably be the leader in the clubhouse if you want to keep a guy like Jojo Aragona in red shirt.
Right.
Obviously, they'll wrestle. I think Aragona has certainly got is the future plan for Rutgers. If he beats LaParry, how bad does he beat him to tell if Coach Goodell wants to put him into the mix right away?
Yeah.
As we said, it's going to be a long year. So if Aragona is clearly better and maybe has a better chance of doing something at the NCAAs, you might want to pull him out. But, that's why Coach Goodell gets paid the big bucks.
Yeah, I agree with that, what you're talking about. And it's interesting to see more and more coaches pull the red shirt. And, it's one of those things I personally agree with. One, it allows, even though they're giving out medical shirts like freaking chiclets these days, man, it protects. It just gives you an extra layer of protection because you never know what the NCAA is going to do with the medical red shirt. And I like seeing kids make that transition. If they're ready, put them in there and let them get battle tested, hardened by fire. And, the top 10% of high school kids are more ready to wrestle in college now than they probably have been since the late 80s, I think. So
100% agree. These kids they're so much better than they were and prepared to go right away. I'm not a big fan of like, oh, well, this guy's been there for 4 years. He deserves. No, I want the best guy in the lineup. Get him out there. And, of course, as I say that, I mean, you don't want to jeopardize a kid's growth, and maybe 4 years from now he's going to be fighting for a national championship. But in general, I like the idea of really getting him out there, getting him going. And like you said, with injuries, you never know what's going to happen. You never know.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Zane Rutherford a few years ago, and I said, because if he redshirted his first year, the chances of him being a four-timer were probably much higher, right?
Yeah, very good.
Not a moment of doubt in his mind. He's like, no, so it didn't haunt him. And I don't know how much it haunts other kids, but if it doesn't haunt him, you think it shouldn't haunt anybody, right? Like that.
Exactly.
Exactly. Anyway. A couple out-of-state guys. I mean, one of the guys that I was thinking about is Ryan Pomrenka.
Yeah.
Won his wrestle off last night at Lehigh.
Yeah.
He looks to be the starter. He's been banged up. I think he was in the lineup and then out last year. This guy's got to start his own. Got to find a way to create his own offense a little bit.
Keeps the matches real close, and it comes to bite him sometimes.
Yeah.
But he's been in that Lehigh room for a long time now. It seems like he's been there forever. So I'm guessing he's a senior. I believe he is. So, but I think it'd be nice to see him get that start and see how he does all year, because I think he's a guy that could do something in the IWA, and maybe be nice to see him get the qualify maybe.
Yeah, I could see him being a qualifier if he stays healthy, and he's got the skills. It's one of those things, I think mentally he doesn't want to pull the trigger as much as he's probably capable of.
Yeah. Took 6th last year in the IWA, so he's there with the better guys. I got him ranked 3rd right now in the IWA, and actually I got a guy ranked 5th in the EIWA. Is a guy that's new to the EIWA is Sal Profaci from actually Monroe High School in Middlesex County. He was at Michigan for the last 4 years,
right.
And he graduated. He was actually a starter for Michigan back in 2017, was a national qualifier. Came out the next year in 2018, was a starter but didn't qualify, and then last year got beat out when Kanan Stewart transferred from Iowa State.
Right.
So Profaci graduated, is a graduate transfer, start right away. He's at American actually now, so. Be interesting to see how the new conference works out for him. And hopefully he's got the drive that he had in 2017 when he qualified for the Nationals. Maybe he's found it again now going to a new program.
Right. Anybody else you have there?
Yeah, there's a couple guys. Zach Sherman, I call him a Jersey guy because he went to Blair Academy, but I think he's from Florida. So, we try to claim anyone that's really good, Mike, in Jersey. So, we don't like Blair when they're beating our guys, except we like them when they graduate and we can claim them. So we got Zach Sherman, and I would say a guy that maybe just to look out for is Lucas Ravano, another Penn kid. He's a South Jersey guy, a 2-time state champ, Lucas Ravano. So he's a guy that you want to look out for and see. And I'll be honest with you, even to see if he makes the lineup at Penn. They got some guys there, and I think he will, but we'll see what happens. They got some good guys, that's for sure. And he might not even see the lineup, but I think he's got a shot.
Right. I think Zaff has moved up there. He's another guy who's got a hard time pulling the trigger sometimes. And if he gets in a match with someone who's a little more aggressive, it's one of those things where I think it's a toss up. So.
Yeah, I think because I even have Zaff ranked in the EIWA. And when I did that, I believe I thought that Ravana was going to go 149. I am hearing now that he's dropping. So, we'll see what happens. Ravana might not even be able to beat Zaff at this point, but Zaff took 6 in the EIWA last year at 133, so certainly no slouch, and he'll be there battling for the spot, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're building a pen. It's good.
Absolutely.
All right. On to 149 at Princeton. We got Mike D'Angelo. Looks like he'll be back in the lineup after taking a gray shirt.
Yep, he took a gray shirt the year before, and obviously, there'll be Matt Kolodzic is taking a gray shirt this year, so that's why that spot opens up.
And he's sliding down in weight.
Sliding down the weight class, because actually D'Angelo's a two-time national qualifier at 157, so certainly no slouch. With Kolodzic taking that gray shirt this year, opens up a nice slot for him. If he's okay to hold that weight, because you do have a national qualifier back at 157. But I think, honestly, if D'Angelo can hold this weight, I think he's really going to be a force in the EIWA. And I would not be surprised to see him in the finals EIWA. If I'm looking at the weight right now, I got him ranked second behind Jared Prince. I don't want to put things out there that I don't 100% confirm, but if you do look at Navy's lineup, you will not see Jared Prince's name on there. Right. There's some things floating around that I'm not going to throw out there, but you might not see Jared Prince this year for Navy. So that being said, if that's the case, I still think you got Jimmy Hoffman at Lehigh. That's very good. But I would put D'Angelo right up there then if Prince is not in the lineup. And even if Prince is there, I got him right behind him. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, D'Angelo, I got to see him a little bit in gray shirt last year. I think it was at the Princeton Open and then somewhere else. He looked good. I think he's really improved some of his scrambling positions. I like the way he wrestles. He was looking aggressive. He had quite a battle with Lenny Merkin, who is also, I think he's taken a red shirt for Greco this year.
Correct, Olympic, right.
And I think he's making noise. If the weight is comfortable for him, I think he's going to be. He was not a big 57-pounder. I think he's going to be a pretty solid 49-pounder and one of those guys who could score some points in March.
I agree. I actually like him. I like him a lot. Yeah. He's going to do. He'll be just fine coming back for that fifth year, and I have no problems at all with him there. I have, as I mentioned, maybe my, concerns with the RC. I don't have those for D'Angelo. I think he's gonna, I feel he'll do very well there.
And he's gonna have a heck of a season, a bunch of competition at his weight there. And
absolutely.
And the weight class has opened up, but they're wrestling a tough schedule again, is what I'm saying. So he's gonna get to see like a bunch of guys in the top 15 during the season to see where he's at.
Yeah, if I could plug my own site here, WrestleStat, we have where you could click on the wrestler and then click on his upcoming matches, and you won't see any tournaments obviously because we don't know who's going to match up with. Yep. But just before we get to January, just in duels, he's got Jimmy Hoffman from Lehigh, very good, Boo Llewellyn from Oklahoma State, yep. Patrick Lugo, and then he'll have the rider Gino Fleury, who we haven't talked about yet, but those first three matches are going to be really good matches, and it'll be a great test for him to see where he is.
Yeah. Yep. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Going on to Ryder.
Yep.
You mentioned Fleury, and, I know he's going to be wrestling off the Penn State transfer for Gary Dinmore, also Jersey guy. Yep. But Fleury is one of those kids, never qualified for states.
Yeah.
And, talk about a kid. I like the way he wrestles. He's aggressive. Dinmore, I'm not sure if he's had the same drive since he left Penn State. I watched him at the Keystone Classic, and he battled as hard as anybody can. Was that 2 years ago, or was it last year against? Was it 2 years ago against Nolf? I think it was last year. He was exhausted, but he always seems to have the lung injury issue.
Yeah.
So I'm going with Fleury. Again, a kid peaking at the college level, never qualified for states, boys and girls.
That's crazy. Yeah, what was he, a PA kid?
Say it again?
Fleury, a PA kid or
Jersey guy, right?
That tells you the fact that I didn't know him, that if he didn't qualify for states, that's weird.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm pretty sure that he was like a North Jersey kid, but I'm freezing up here, so I can't pull him up.
You're actually right. I wasn't thinking right, but yeah, you're actually right. He is, and yeah, I didn't really know him out of high school, to be honest with you. So
because he didn't qualify for states, it's crazy.
That would be why,
right?
He went to North Warren Regional, actually. If I'm looking at their website. So he's a guy. He's coming down. He wrestled 157 last year. Was a starter. I'm actually showing him even as a starter in 2017 at 149 pounds. But last year was a starter. Went 18-12. Went 3-1 in the EWL. Unfortunately, did not qualify for the nationals. But like you said about Dinmore, I mean, this is a kid that had all the talent in the world. He was a 3-time New Jersey state finalist. Wrestled twice against Ashenalt, and then his senior year he lost to Jack Clark. So a 3-time finalist in New Jersey is no slouch. Gave Ashenalt really good matches in those finals. So, he's I think he's lost his drive though. I don't even, he's a weird guy. He's hard to figure out, but I would also go with Fleury to take the spot as well. Coming down, as you mentioned, from 157.
Ton of talent. Really, I just don't know if he wants it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yep. Yeah. So I would think we would see Fleury in that spot. So.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned earlier, Travis Layton probably going to be coming up to battle for that spot as well.
Exactly. There you go. That'll be interesting. It's nice to see Ryder with a little bit of depth here. Building. So, best man wins. I'm betting on Fleury. And I love that. I love when kids peak at the highest level. Like,
I love it.
Peak at the international level. Peak at college, right? All that stuff. Don't peak as a fifth grader.
Yeah. Seen it. I've seen it way too many times.
Yeah. I'm doing a little research right now on PJW, so Pennsylvania Junior State Champs, and it's astonishing right now. The data I have is I think it's 20% of state champs at the junior level are state champs in high school.
Wow, that's it.
Right, and I'm still going back, so that's just a few years. But that is, if parents knew that, they would be like, well, why would kill it? Anyway.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. On to Rutgers.
So Rutgers, we got a logjam here. Certainly not a whole lot of Division I wins under their belt, but you're probably going to look for a 3-man bracket here with Nick Santos, Jake Benner, and Gerald Angelo. Now, Gerald Angelo he took a gray shirt last year. He was going to go to Cornell. Took that gray shirt, ended up not going to Cornell. He's enrolled at Rutgers now. So he's coming in technically as a true freshman, but he probably, he's got a year under his belt. He wrestled a little bit for Finger Lakes Wrestling Club over there. But, so he's a guy that, and I think Rutgers is real high on Nick Santos. They were real high on him last year, but he actually got injured maybe right as the season was starting or preseason. And then Jake Benner was a kid as a true freshman last year, got some starts, was in and out of the lineup, maybe taking some matches at 157, 165. He was kind of like a journeyman as far as, not a journeyman, but kind of like a utility guy, wrestling a lot of matches last year for Rutgers at different weights. But was only 6-8, 7-9, somewhere in that range. But I think Rutgers is going to, it's going to be hard to replace an Anthony Ashenalt. Let's say that.
Totally.
And I don't know if true freshman PA kid, great kid, Brian I'll probably kill that name, Vulaka, however you say it.
Vulak.
Okay, Vulak. He could be a starter, but I'm hearing maybe more of 157. So it's possible if he could make 149, 157. He's not in the wrestle-offs. I hear he's a little dinged up. Nothing too serious from what I'm hearing, but we'll see what happens. So I think that weight class is wide open for Rutgers. But I think if it's any of the first three, it's probably going to be a long year. I'd love to see if Ryan maybe comes in and maybe just see what happens as a true freshman. But I think it could be a long year for Rutgers. And like we said, replacing Anthony Ashenalt is not going to be easy.
And is Mike Van Brill going up to 57 for sure?
He is going to go up to 157.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And Vulak, I had heard he was a little nicked up. I don't know him personally. I know him, but I don't know him personally. So I don't know if it's, how bad it is or what it is.
Nor do I.
All right. How about some guys wrestling out of state?
Yes. A guy wrestling all the way out in California, a Blair kid, Requar Vandermeer. I'm killing these names, dude. Very, very good year last year. It was a national qualifier. Let me pull him up real quick, but was the Pac-12 champion last year. So that's saying a lot. It was actually it's a conference that doesn't have a lot of teams, but there's some solid teams in there with Arizona State, Stanford, and Oregon State certainly had some great wrestlers in the past. But Requer is going to be a junior this year. First year as a starter last year. He went to the NCAAs, went 1-2. So he's looking to build on that. Over 24-8 last year. He is a fantastic kid again, a Blair kid, so he's got a pedigree, and I'd look for him to do good things. After that, you're more. I put Ricky Cabanillas in there. He's a kid that was a state champ 2 years ago. Lost last year to Lucas Ravano in the state finals. So, he's a good wrestler out there. He's going to be in the Ivies wrestling for Brown. So we'll keep an eye on him. And possibly Cole Corrigan, who wrestles for Columbia. See if he started last year. We'll see if he can make it back into the lineup. Brought in a few guys around that weight for Columbia, so we'll see what happens.
And there we are. Going to Requer Vandermeer. Stanford is putting together. They don't have a dual team, but they've got some pretty tough individuals. I mean, they have a dual team, obviously, but they've Real Woods and
Shane
Griffith. I mean, they got some kids who they're starting to. California and wrestling are, even if they kept 15% of their guys, Fresno State is already in the top 20 after constituting. But, Northern California, Stanford, they're gonna score some points at the NCAAs this year.
Yeah. I think, and to your point, I think this year actually could be an okay dual team, but more so you get in that tournament with guys like Griffith and Real Woods this year, two guys that are going to be redshirt freshmen. So, had great seasons last year in redshirt, but the country's going to know them if they don't already.
Absolutely.
And they got a decent 197-pounder, so they're putting together a good squad. So.
Yep. All right, going on to 157, Princeton. We got Quincy Monday coming back as a sophomore.
Yep, sophomore national qualifier last year. Great season for him, and he's got that Monday family. I'm sure he's gonna. I put my money on him any day. So he should do just fine. Look forward to seeing him again. I got him currently ranked 4th in the EIWA. So we'll see what happens. He took 3rd last year in the IWA. I got a guy that was 1st last year at 149, bumped up. So, I think the kid's going to get better every year, and I think he's going to be fun to watch.
He's got the gold medal blood in him. And last year, I got to watch him probably at least half dozen times. He learned how to win the hard way, I would say. He made a lot of matches a little bit harder on himself, just working through positions, and I'm expecting a jump from him. He's got a great combination of mental toughness. He's got real length with his arms reaching to get to some funky angles. Sure. He had a interesting match early on, I think at the Open with Larry Early, I believe. But he would win the hard way. I'm betting on him taking a jump this year. He's surrounded in a really good room right now between D'Angelo and Kolodzik. And I'm not sure if Dubuque goes up that high. Ayers probably wrestles down that low a little bit with his banged up body. But at NJRTC they're loaded there, so he's getting a ton of looks. And,
sure.
I wonder. I'm not sure if he and his brother Kennedy have any kind of side bets to see who's gonna, finish higher this year. But if it was me, I would take Quincy. That's just me.
Right.
All right. So
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like him a lot. Like I said, I think he's going to improve every year. And with that coaching staff and wrestlers, like you mentioned, around him, the sky's the limit for Quincy.
Yeah. Going on to Ryder, we got Jesse Delavecchia.
Yeah, Jesse Delavecchia coming down again. Another guy that's coming down. Wrestled qualifier last year, finished in the round of 16 at 165 for Ryder. I believe he was a transfer to Ryder. I think he was at Binghamton.
Yep.
So,
New York kid came down.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's definitely he wants to get on that podium and dropping down a weight, getting out of 165. I mean, listen, it's the NCAA. Nothing's easy, but I think he might have a better path to at least get around the 12. And at that point, you're in the blood round. Anything can happen. And, I think it's a great move for Ryder. Having him come down with everyone else, moving weights and everything as far as a team, it'll be very beneficial for them.
Yeah, he's got a funky style. I didn't think he was big at 65, and he was competitive, so I think the move coming down is going to be good. He's got that crazy suck you back, throw that half Nelson style that was popular maybe 10 years ago, and people aren't ready for it, a lot of them.
Right.
So it's one of those things where people aren't getting that feel in the practice room as often as they did maybe a decade ago, and it messes with kids. So I'm looking for him to have a good year. I know he works really hard. I've talked to the coaches about him last year, and he's not a flashy kid. He's not doing some of the crazy stuff. I know that one of Ryder's best recruits ended up leaving last year because problems.
Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. Yeah.
But Delavecchia, I think and Fleury, they're kids who really want to wrestle hard at the D1 level. So I'm looking forward to watching him. And he's one of those kids that Ryder hasn't had an AA since they had two AAs. Big Bad Wolf and
Wolf, right?
Wolf and the coach at Davidson. I cannot believe I'm drawing.
Walsh.
Chad Walsh.
Yep.
So he's one of those guys where I think he is right on the border at 57 of being around to 12, and if he has a good run in March, he could be another AA for Ryder.
Yeah, correct. And now he's going to have a tough conference too because he's got Larry Early in there, All-American last year. And a guy that was a true freshman last year from Missouri, Jared Jacques. Very good wrestler. He actually had a win over Early last year. Only going to be a true sophomore this year. And I got Delavecchia right ahead of him, but guys like Logan Parks, Zach Carson, very good wrestlers.
Carson, sure, yeah.
It's not going to be a cakewalk, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And of those guys, if it was still the old EWL, Delavecchia is, he's obviously head and shoulders above everyone else of the EWL. So he's coming in here. The MAC itself was very good last year at 157. So a lot of those guys coming back.
Got it. All right, going down to Rutgers, they're dropping weights here too.
Well, dropping, adding weights, and we got freshmen in the mix. So it's at this point, it's looking like the wrestle-off is going to be Mike Van Brill, true freshman Robert Kennard, and true freshman Ryan Volka, which we mentioned. Now, who didn't I mention was Stefan Glasgow, who wrestled 165 last year, but certainly looked probably would have been better at 157. Unfortunately, he couldn't beat John Van Brill, so he had to go up. I don't know if people have heard this or not, but at this particular time, Stefan is suspended from Rutgers indefinitely for violating team rules. So not exactly sure when we will see Stefan.
Okay.
I should say when or if we will see Stefan back. So I think it's probably best at this point to assume that we're not going to certainly see him early on, and we wish the best going forward for him. Had a ton of talent, but you gotta put it all together. You gotta do things right too. So at that all being said, I'd say Mike Van Brill is probably going to hold a little advantage He's a guy that was a starter in 2018, but it was a starter at 141 pounds. Last year, I think he was having a tough time making 141. He was battling with Lipari for the starting spot. Yeah. I think he could not hold 141, and really going up 2 weight classes might be the best move for Mike. And he probably shouldn't have to be cutting much, if anything at all. And we'll see how he does. He's going to have to hold off some pretty talented true freshmen. But I think he's going to be the guy we're certainly going to see early on in the season.
I've always enjoyed watching both the Van Brills. I was surprised to see the double weight jump. It's the Jordan Oliver kind of thing.
Sure.
You think he still has that mental drive?
You know what? I'm going to say yes. Yeah. I'm going to say yes. I think he probably has a lot to prove in that, being a starter in 2018 and then going to losing the job last year to Lipari. Now, whether it was weight or just Lipari being the better guy, I know when I saw them wrestling duels, Van Brill looked like he was having a tough time with the weight.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's going up to 157, skipping 149, tells me that even 149 is probably a tough weight for him to make, to be honest with you. Because when I look at the guys at 149, I think he could certainly be a starter there. So, so I think maybe this is going to be a lot better, and we'll see a lot better version of Mike Van Brill at 157.
Got it. Well, just on a personal level, I like watching his style. And I'm hoping that he has a good season if he gets that spot.
And we should mention his brother John, who you mentioned you like watching. It was always fun to watch. He was exciting. He's the assistant coach now at Bucknell. So if you want to still see him, he's still out there. Yeah.
Good for him. And then some guys from they're wrestling out of state. We got Zavatsky from App State.
You should just let me butcher the names, Mike.
He's a good wrestler. I got to watch him at the Keystone Classic last year. I thought he was pretty good from neutral. I think he got caught in a couple cradles, which was just odd at this level. But a good from neutral, and maybe I don't know. I would see if he could make a jump in his mat wrestling. I know App State they came to wrestle at the Keystone Classic. The coaches there have them. Ready to compete, which is just one of those things you love seeing, and that's how you get yourself on a schedule of a top 20 team, a top 10 team when you come to bang and compete. So, be curious to see how he looks this year.
Yeah, exactly. And what he's got going for him in some ways it's bad, but it's that he's wrestling in the SoCon. So typically certainly not the hardest conferences. They don't get a lot of qualifiers, so that's the bad part. But the good part is that he is already a 2-time national qualifier for the App State, and he redshirted last year, but the 2 times he qualified before that was at 149. He is going up to 157, and I think he, in the SoCon, they do have 8 teams now with Presbyterian Wrestling. The 3 top teams are App State, Campbell, and Chattanooga. So I think he's got a good shot of going back to the NCAAs this year. And certainly, Jersey guys will be rooting for him, that's for sure. Right. And then if you want to look at another guy, maybe a guy that started for Maryland as a true freshman a couple years ago, but got hurt, missed all of last year. But I did hear an interview with Coach Clemson, the new coach at Maryland, saying that he thinks people should keep their eye out for Kyle Corcoran.
Yeah.
Kyle was a state champ in New Jersey as a junior. I believe he lost as a senior. But ton of talent. See with the new coaching staff, and also how he's dealing with injuries. And I'm sorry if you hear this construction going on behind me.
That's all right, man. I'll be real interested to see what happens in that Maryland program with Coach Clemson, and what the transition is like. I've loosely followed the team. I've coached some guys who have been through that program over the last 10 years, and I'm hoping that they become relevant. Just in the, it's tough being in the toughest conference in the country, and then Maryland produces some tough kids, right?
Yes.
We got world team members coming out of there.
Out of the state, yep,
out
absolutely.
of the state, and you think that they could even if they're not out recruiting, Penn State or Rutgers or
Sure.
But you could anyway. There's talent there, from Snyder to Aaron Brooks to you're getting a lot. There's a lot of talent coming out of there. So
yeah, there is. There certainly is.
You don't want to see them be a doormat in the Big Ten. It's just not good for wrestling.
No, it's not. It's not. But unfortunately, someone's got to be that last team in the Big Ten because there's so much talent.
Yeah,
and as I mentioned, I'm a Rutgers fan, but Rutgers is going to be one of those lower teams this year in the Big Ten, and it's just the way it is with the way their lineup is, and if they hold back some of these younger kids, they're going to be they're going to be there as well. And,
it's going to be a tough season, right? And
it's going to be a tough season, but you get you battle tested, and that's you hope for at the end, I guess. But
you hope that you hope the two champions last year put some money in the emotional bank account of the fans.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So
anybody else at 57 out of state, or is that it?
That's the ones that I had listed that I still wanted to talk about.